Hi, my name is Daniel Quintero. I'm a student at Life High School Waxahachie. I'm a current senior expecting graduation in May of 2022. Today I'll be showing and showcasing what all I know about the components of computers. Let's get started. Here we have the most basic and one of the most important things on a PC or on a computer. This is called the motherboard. The motherboard contains items that you need in order to start the PC, in order to make it work, have it function, anything of the sort. Here we have the PCI slots. The PCI slots are slots that are mostly used for your audio port or your audio cards and your graphic cards, meaning your GPU and your audio card. Here we've got the BIOS. The BIOS is something so that you can boot up the computer and use your operating system and stuff like that. You can also overclock your GPU or your central processing unit so that way it can work faster and harder. Next, we have the front panel connector. This is where you'll find all of your connectors your ports for your power cable that leads to the case, for your audio cable, your RGB, LEDs, stuff like that. Next, we have the back plate. This metal piece on the back plate is called the I/O shield. The I/O shield prevents any electrical static from entering inside the back plate and electrocuting any of these items. Here we have all the audio ports that lead to aux. We have the Ethernet port. We have 4 slots for USB 2, 4 for USB 3. We have an HDMI port, a DVI port, and a PS2 port. Continuing on, we have the RAM slots. The RAM slots is used for your RAM. RAM is random access memory, which is non-permanent memory. This non-permanent memory is mostly used so you can open applications and start up your computer. Here we have the 24-pin connector that starts and powers on your entire PC, and it goes from the power supply. Moving on, we have the RAM stick. The RAM stick is a non-permanent memory, like I said before, so that way you can start your applications, and so that way you can start up your computer, boot up anything of the sort. As of right now, there's 5 different types of RAM. There's DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, and DDR5. The fastest and newest type is DDR5. Here we have DDR4, like it says right here, meaning that it's one of the newest and one of the fastest types of RAM sticks available to computers. Next, I have the power supply. The power supply goes from the case down here. It goes from the case all the way to your wall outlet, and it provides power to everything that goes inside of your computer and inside of your case, such as the motherboard. This is a module power supply, meaning that these cables are already plugged into the power supply. Non-module ones means that you have to get the cables that come with it and you have to plug them in separately. The power supply also has a fan on the inside so that way it can stay cool and doesn't overheat. Next up, we've got the hard drive. This is permanent memory that will always be saved if you select to save it on this power supply. Or not the power supply, the hard drive, I'm sorry about that. The size on it is 1 terabyte, as it shows right here, 1 TB.
Yes.
And it uses SATA cables, and it uses different types of cables in order to power it, and so that way it's connected towards the motherboard and the entire PC. It goes inside of the PC or the case right here, and its drive bay goes inside of there. This is the GPU, also known as the graphical processing unit. The graphical processing unit provides graphics to your PC and it provides graphics to your monitor. Without it, you won't be able to see what's being displayed on the monitor. So in order to use it, you need to plug it in to a PCI slot, such as one of these ones. Let's move this over a little bit so that way I can demonstrate. Move it in, you slide it in like so, ever so slightly, and then it's in, just like that, from that small click. In order to remove it, you need to remove this little thing right here, this little latch. Press down on it, and slide it back out. Next, we have the CPU fan. The CPU fan provides coolant towards the CPU so it does not overheat and it does not fry. You also need thermal paste to apply it to the CPU fan so that way it can have a stable connection towards the CPU and towards the fan. Without the thermal paste, there is a very rigid contact and it lacks a lot of surface tension, meaning that it won't provide as much coolant from the fan to the CPU. And here we have the CPU. The CPU is a central processing unit. Without the CPU, you don't have a computer. You need this in order to do everything. This is basically the brain of the computer, and it functions just like it in its everyday life. On the back, we have its pins, so that way it plugs in and it makes sure that everything is running well. Other than that, we have the case. On the side of the case, we have everything that will plug into the motherboard and whatnot. Here we have the power switch cable. We have other cables such as audio HD. We have our HDD LEDs. We have RGBs somewhere in here. I couldn't tell you where, but we do have plugins for all of those. All of this is needed in order to provide power towards the case and power towards the motherboard. And just like that, I'm done with my demonstration.